All right, Ryan, why don't we get started?
All righty. Yeah, we were going to give it maybe one more minute to trickle in. Lynn, do you want to turn your video on so we can see you?
She is.
Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
So just to start, I guess I'll introduce myself. So my name is Ryan Dolan. I'm Director of Sales here at Louise by Tiffin. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a couple housekeeping items. So the webinar, it's being recorded, and we'll have a live Q&A session. So please feel free to just ask questions for the panelists in your question box in your Zoom panel, and we can kind of address those at the end. But we're really excited to host the event today. Throughout the next hour, I'll be joined by both award-winning author and thought leader, Lynne Twist, as well as financial advisor, Christopher Mackin. On a personal note, this is an important event for me because it's a culmination of kind of various relationships and events throughout my life. So I actually first connected with Lynne, I don't know if even Lynne remembers this, when I was 21 years old for an interview project I created to keep busy during one summer. And this was before podcasts had become popular, so I used my cell phone and a recorder to document my interview with her. And I was just left so inspired by Lynne, her life, and the impact that she's had on the world. And since then, Lynne and her work has been kind of a guiding force in both my life and my career. So it was very synchronous when Christopher, a financial advisor and user of Louise, reached out and asked if we'd be interested in partnering in an event to host Lynne. Lynne's work and mission in many ways is an extension of what we're focused on at Louise by Tiffin. So our mission is to build engaging wealth experiences that better financial lives. With Louise, we're focused on creating a whole new category of philanthropy and donor advised funds, one that is personalized, that is engaging, and that eliminates many of the frictions that stop advisors and their clients from living financial lives of purpose and meaning. So that's all I'm going to say for right now. I'm going to pass it off to Christopher to share more of his story and his connection with Lynne as a financial advisor.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you to the Louise team for helping get this production off the ground. I've been a wealth advisor for the past 18 years, and I've been witness to the majority of people that I meet having a bad relationship with their money. I've been guilty of it myself personally. And the scarcity mindset is really, really common, especially in today's day and age, regardless of how big or small someone's net worth is. People often hoard and store their money for themselves. They're often afraid to spend what they've worked hard to save, let alone donate it to other people. So thinking that really they often don't think that they have enough for their future, or they just enjoy watching the number in their bank and investment accounts grow. So my sister and I have set out to really help our clients and other financial advisors create a better relationship with their money. If we can educate advisors like those folks that are on the call today about our approach to wealth, help them reframe their relationship with their own money, and then pass on that approach and knowledge to their friends, family, and their clients, we believe that we can create impact at scale. So to do all this, we really organized today's call to serve as a foundation for future discussions. A little over a year ago, I stumbled across one of the greatest books about the scarcity mindset and its devastating consequences. It was called The Soul of Money: Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Life by the beautiful angel of this world, Lynne Twist, who's joining us today. As soon as I read the book, I knew right afterwards that I needed to meet Lynne and set up a team to help get this messaging out into the eyes and ears of more people. So Lynne, thank you again for joining us today, and would love if you can take the baton from here, share your story, and then we can go into a few questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Christopher and Ryan, and everybody who's here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because I think everybody on Earth struggles in their relationship with money. Now, I'll tell you how I know that because for Many, many years, I was involved in something called the Hunger Project and was responsible for fundraising in 50 countries, 50 of them, including countries with enormous resources like the United States, Canada, Japan, Hong Kong, New Zealand, and France and Germany, but also Ethiopia, Ghana, Senegal, Bangladesh, India, Mozambique, where everybody, whether they had millions of dollars in the back room or billions of dollars in the stock market, or they had almost nothing to rub together, has a lot of anxiety, upset, and craziness really around their relationship with money. And it didn't make sense to me, especially with people of wealth. Why would they have a little bit of an anxiety, crazy, suffering relationship with money when what all of the rest of us want is more of it? And when people have piles of it, how could it be that they too have sometimes worries and upsets and this mindset that there's not enough, even if they have like way more than most people would ever imagine being able to spend? And I realized that this mindset, and I'm calling it a mindset to free us a little bit from it, this mindset that we all swim in because it's part of the culture in which we live, is a mindset that promotes scarcity. It promotes this belief system that there's not enough to go around, that someone somewhere is always going to be left out, and that you have to get as much as you can for you and yours, whoever you think that is, so that they're not left out. And maybe you'll help the people who are left out eventually when you have way, way, way more than you need to make sure you're safe from this scarce world. But right now, you're just going to do everything you can to accumulate. And that mentality, that way of being, that way of seeing has created, if you can imagine this, just and remove yourself from your own personal situation, but imagine if everybody in the world thinks that, then of course, fewer and fewer and fewer people are going to have more and more and more and more resources, and more and more people are going to be left out. And that's what we have in the world today. Tremendous inequity. I mean, unconscionable inequity. Inequity that none of us feel good about, even those of us who are working hard to promote philanthropy and sharing and ESG investing, etc. It's just incredible. And so I started to really, look under the rocks and talk to people. And as a fundraiser and a philanthropist myself, I could tell that I had the disease. Oh God, I gotta have more of everything, and there's not enough to go around. And I would get frantic about meeting my fundraising targets, and also frantic about being someone who wanted to accumulate more money so that I could make sure I was safe. And that way of being gives us no peace and no freedom in our relationship with money. It has us be kind of crazy. It has us disconnected from our humanity. It has us not really engaging in the world in the way that we hoped to when we were envisioning having wealth. And so I began to really examine it, and that is the source of the book that Christopher mentioned, The Soul of Money, which is kind of a strange title because you think, well, soul of money, money doesn't have a soul. You're right, it does not. It's neutral. It's like water. It moves through the world. It's innocent. It's an exchange of energy. It's an agreement. It's blips on a computer screen. It's paper. It's something that we have all agreed to use, but we've given it so much power and so much authority and so much meaning, not just value and worth in terms of numbers, but psychological, emotional, spiritual power practically over all of us in a way that we almost worship it in the society in which we were born, into which we were born. So none of us created that kind of over attention to money, but we're caught in it. In other words, we were born into it. It'll be here probably when we're dead and gone. But do we need to be at the effect of it so deeply? Because when I say money doesn't have a soul, I say that with all authenticity, but who does have a soul? We do. And can we bring our soul and our money together? Can we see that the way we earn, spend, invest, give is consistent with the longing of our soul? Can we bring wealth and our well-being closer together? And I say yes. I say that's the job of our time. I say thank God for Louise and Ryan Dolan. Thank God for Christopher Mackin and his partners. Thank God for all of you, their wealth advisors, that would be drawn to a conversation like this, to look at what is the kind of soul of our work. What is it to really create well-being in the world through wealth? You know, something that I didn't know until I really got into this was that the word wealth, if you look up its etymology, where does it come from originally? The word wealth comes from well-being. That's the source or the etymology of that word. And you think about what is well-being, what does that mean? And when you think about wealth, is it really about well-being and not so much as about money as we thought? And what is well-being? Well, the origin of well-being, that word is the well of being, the well of being that is in each one of us, that is actually infinite, that is something that when we're in touch with our humanity, we can draw on forever and nourish ourselves, our families, and the world. So what kind of wealth or relationship with wealth can actually generate well-being for ourselves, our family, peace and freedom in the world? And obviously, all of you know that there's a lot of wonderful things about wealth. Obviously, we all love more wealth. We can do more for the world. We can do more for our family. It eases a lot of the suffering about paying bills and making things work. But also, I'm sure some of you have observed, I certainly have, that some of our wealthiest families are some of the most kind of emotionally taxed or sometimes quite miserable families with, all kinds of issues where the money is used to wield power over the brother or the wife or the daughter or the sister or the partner. I work with families, as you do, not on their investments the way you do, but on their emotional relationship with money. I see a lot of addiction. I see a lot of abandonment issues. I see a lot of power struggles with money that amplify dysfunction rather than resolve it in a family. And so I know that we all probably see a lot of that and kind of maybe don't know what to do about it. But it's part of the kind of losing our way in this mindset of scarcity. And let me say a little bit more about scarcity since Christopher brought that up. I have a long track record of working on global issues, working very intimately with hunger, poverty, the empowerment of women and girls, which is often the key strategy in situations of hunger and poverty. I also now work with the indigenous peoples of the Amazon to help them support and empower them to preserve their land and culture, not just for themselves, but for the sustainability, the long-term sustainability of life itself. So I've seen a lot of people who really are in real scarcity. Not the people in the Amazon, fortunately. They have everything they need, and they don't even have money. They're not even interested in it. When we first came to the Amazon, we said to the indigenous people, if you once you engage with the outside world, you're going to run into this thing called money, and you're going to have to understand why everybody's so crazy for it. And they said to us, well, you can't hunt for it, you can't eat it. Why does everybody want it? Because for them, kind of irrelevant. They have everything they need. But that's not the case in places like Bangladesh, India, Sub-Saharan Africa, Ethiopia, and even in the inner cities, and even not too far away from your house or my house. There are people very, very much in need. They need jobs, they need more resources, they need access, they need clean and fresh water. I'm not talking about that when I say scarcity. That's real. I'm talking about an unconscious, unexamined mindset. And that's the lens through which most of us see the world. It's a cultural mindset that comes with the consumer society, that comes with commercialism, that comes with the intensity of advertising and marketing, which is done very, very well, to have us think that we need more of absolutely everything. We need more square feet in our house. We need more time. We need more money. We need more this. We need more that. We need more clothes. We need to be much more of everything. And because we want more, because we think we're not enough. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough sex. There's not enough love. There's not enough vacation. There's not enough this. There's not enough that. And there's not enough, and we need more. There's not enough, and we need more, is a sort of deficit relationship with the world that I'm saying is actually a lens, like the glasses I'm wearing. You know, when you take off your glasses, now I need these glasses, so I'm not taking them off, but let's imagine they're sunglasses, but you forget you're wearing the sunglasses and you actually think everything is that sort of darker green color. And when we take off the lens of scarcity, which I'm calling an unconscious, unexamined set of assumptions, like a lens we look through to see the world, everything looks like we need more of it. And when you take that off and see that it might be a distortion, and I'm actually going to be bold here and call it a lie, that the mindset of scarcity, the condition of thinking that has us scrambling and frantic for more of everything, thinking there's not enough, even if we have $10 million, $10 billion, we think we've got to have more. It makes no sense really, but it's part of the mindset. And so that mindset has what I call 3 toxic myths in it. The first being there's not enough, obviously. There's not enough anything. There's especially not enough time, not enough money, not enough hours in the day, not enough weekends, not enough, all of that. And you have a sort of view of the world, most of us, there's not enough, and then there's a blank and fill it in. And that's actually, we do that all day long in our conversations. There's not enough time for lunch. There's not enough time with the kids. There's not enough time for vacation. There's not enough leisure time. I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't get enough this, enough that, enough this, enough that. It applies to kind of like everything. And then that's the first toxic myth, there's not enough. Second is more is better. And more of anything and everything's better. It's indiscriminate. More of everything is better. And we actually kind of unconsciously believe that. You could say, and since I work in the environmental movement and the climate crisis, that the more of everything mindset that we kind of can't stop to look and see, well, maybe I have enough, is the source of our climate crisis, that we can't stop. Thank God in many ways for the pandemic that gave us some reining in, some pause to rethink. Maybe we're overdoing this here. So more is better. And once again, I'm talking about a mindset of a kind of blindness, but a way of seeing the world that's distorted. And then the third toxic myth, first being there's not enough. Second, more is better no matter what. And third is that's just the way that it is, and you just got to go along. You kind of got to buy in, and that's the source of your success. It's just there's not enough, more is better. That's just the way that it is. Play the game as well as you can. And that third toxic myth, that's just the way that it is, kind of keeps the whole thing in place so we don't question it. We don't look and see, well, maybe I have enough. Maybe it's time for some of this incredible wealth to be passed on, not just to my own children, but to the great problems of the world. Maybe philanthropy is not just something I do on the side to kind of cut down my taxes and be a good citizen. No, maybe that's why I made all this money, so that I could make a big, amazing, powerful difference in the world. So, of course, as a philanthropist myself and a fundraiser, I love that thought. But let me go finally, and then I know Christopher's going to ask me some questions, and hopefully you will too. What I started to see when I looked at the lens, the mindset, the unconscious assumption of scarcity, that mindset with those toxic myths in them, if you clear that away even for a moment, which we all have when we sit and watch the sunrise, or when we touch the hand of a little newborn baby, or when something really beautiful is in front of us, like the Grand Canyon, or an extraordinary win in our family for one of our kids. You have this experience of wholeness, completeness, enoughness. You don't compare it with anything. It's not compared with anything. It's just, oh, wow, life is good. And that's the experience I'm calling sufficiency, enough. It's not an amount of anything. It's a way of being in the world, seeing the enoughness in yourself, feeling it, seeing the enoughness in the situation you're living in, seeing the enoughness in your relationship, and letting go of the scrambling for more long enough to see what's actually there and appreciate it. So I'll say the principle of sufficiency, and then another way of remembering this. The principle of sufficiency, I made this up. So, principles are supposed to be, I don't know, come from the oracle or God or something, but this seems true to me. So let me suggest this. Just imagine this. And, sometimes I close my eyes when I talk, and you're welcome to do this too, to listen. The principle of sufficiency, I say, is this. If you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, which is what the culture demands we want more of, it frees up oceans of energy that's all tied up in this chase to turn and suddenly pay attention to what you already have. When you give your attention to what you already have, when you nourish it, when you honor it, when you make a difference with it, when you appreciate it, and when you share it, it expands. It's a miracle. Let me say it again. When you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, it frees up oceans of energy all tied up in that chase to turn and pay attention to what you already have. When you make a difference with what you already have, when you nourish it, and when you share it, it expands. It's absolutely amazing. And that's hard to remember, that whole thing, but what is easier to remember is what you appreciate appreciates. What you appreciate appreciates. I say that when you're in the space of sufficiency, which is not an amount, it's a way of being. It's being in touch with the well of being that is you, that is your family, that is what you love, that is your relationship with the people that you care about. When you're in that space, all you want to do is give and share and make the world a better place. And the enoughness you're in touch with is fulfilling for you. So these are, just ideas for all of you who manage people of great wealth, because I think some of the suffering around money, to me, there's an opportunity for all of you to enter the healing world. You could be in a healing profession in some way, healing people's sometimes often dysfunctional relationship with money that comes from a harsh father or a bad breakup of a marriage, or all the kinds of things that we do with money where we hurt each other, where we don't tell the truth to each other, where you sell out a little bit for what is called success, which means you got to have money to be successful. And philanthropy, which is, I know you all engaged in it and you all know your clients do too, but let me just remind us that the word philanthropy doesn't really have anything to do with wealth, maybe well-being, but not necessarily riches. It means, or its etymology is love of humankind. Love of humankind. And everybody wants that. Everybody wants that. And moving money towards the highest good, towards the nourishment of ourselves and our families, yes, absolutely, don't skip over that. But then once you know you're taken care of, perhaps the opportunity to move it on where it can do the highest good for our community, for our world, for the future, for all children of all species, for all time, is the true road to prosperity. Collaboration and generosity is what really creates prosperity, not necessarily more. And what people actually really want is prosperity. They want to prosper. So those are some ideas for all of you. And, I have this view that money doesn't really belong to us. It moves throughout the world. It belongs to all of us or none of us. And we get the privilege to be the stewards of it, the trustees of it for the moment, and absolutely use it and do what you can to bring it into your world so that you can take care of your family and yourself and everything you care about. But then move it on that currency. It's a current where it'll do the most good for the most folks. Allow the currency to flow, just like water. Water is a carrier, and the currency of money is a carrier. And water is innocent, but it can carry disease. It can carry things, toxic things, and pollution. Or when it's clear and clean and purified, it can cleanse. It can purify. It can make things grow. And money's just like that too. When you're true to yourself in the way you use money, it purifies this currency so it can make a difference in the world and make a difference in your heart, in your life, and give you prosperity, true prosperity, which is the real fulfillment that we're all looking for. So I'll stop there and give Christopher a chance to weigh in and say a couple things or ask me anything.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I love hearing your story and hearing all your nuggets of wisdom. And as you mentioned, money is like water, money is energy. It is a current, see, right? And what I find is that most advisors focus on gathering more assets, gathering more money under management, because that's how they get paid.
Yes.
They typically take on any client, regardless of who the client is, to make more money instead of actually targeting the types of people that they want to work with. Aligning their values and aligning interests and other things, because and that's an approach that my sister and I have taken is focusing on working with owners of environmentally conscious companies, because those are the people that share similar values that we do. And we know that we're going to enjoy conversations with them for the rest of our career, not just today, or not just receive the financial benefit from them. Um, um, and I think that ultimately, if advisors focus more attention to clients, and making a difference in their lives and in the relationships that they have, that they'll achieve more abundance than they've ever imagined. Because when you free up that energy to focus away from gathering assets and making more money to actually nurturing the relationships that you have and building strong connections with those people and helping them fulfill all the things that are important for them in their life, it will create so many opportunities for you personally, to feel a sense of gratitude, a sense of joy, a sense of fulfillment. And that's really what it's all about, not the amount of money that's in your bank account. What you appreciate appreciates, and we do really appreciate you joining us. So, Ryan, why don't you jump in here and I know that you had a few questions that you wanted to ask both of us. So.
Great. Yeah. And I just want to, just to acknowledge Lynn. Thank you for that. And then just also wanted to remind people to put questions in the chat. So this is a huge opportunity we have with Lynn. Lynn shared the stage with people like the Dalai Lama. She had a relationship with Mother Teresa. She has this wealth of experience. So yeah, just feel free to ask any questions in the chat. But I had a couple questions that I thought were valuable to kind of start the conversation. My view here is that we'll just have it be an open conversation between myself, Lynn, and Christopher. And going off of what Christopher just said, I'd love to just start by walking through some of the best practices you found for opening up a conversation about values and charitable giving with clients, because we know that transition sometimes is hard. And how do you? I don't know. Maybe we could start with Christopher as to some best practices you've seen or you've applied with clients.
Thank you. Yeah, I think most important is get both spouses involved in the conversation. Oftentimes, we'll get a referral, or someone will reach out to us looking for advice and want to schedule a meeting, and we ask them, when are you and your spouse available? Well, they say sometimes that, oh, I'll just take the reins. Well, we always recommend that you have both spouses involved in the discussion. Financial problems, incompatibility between finances, and lack of transparency in relationships is the leading cause of divorce. So, if we can help act as a third party to bridge any conversations to better the relationship, I've literally seen people walk into our office that were on the verge of divorce, and you could see how unhappy they were in their marriage, to coming in, several reviews later and playing with each other, having fun, and really enjoying the conversation around money. So again, number one is getting both spouses involved. Number two, I think, is just asking the right questions. Most advisors have a fact finder. It's a client profile form. It's very black and white and boring. The approach that we take in gathering information from our clients is really a conversation that starts with what people's values are, right? Focusing on not only like the information about their life, who they are, but what's important about money to them. What needs, concerns, or feelings come to mind when they think about money? We want to ultimately find out if we see any witness of a scarcity mindset, because again, nine times out of 10, we're going to see it. And it's really, I believe that part of our job is to help people transition away from a scarcity mindset into a feeling of more abundance and fulfillment. Um, I think it's also really important to find out in those initial discussions, or down the road, what organizations that they support or volunteer for, if any, and why. Like, why do they send $50 or $100 a month to XYZ charity? Was it someone in their family that suffered from a particular illness, or was it them themselves that had the illness? It just offers the opportunity for you to really get to know your client and their history and what drives them to make decisions, with their money, and what concerns them, really. And I think that before people support, others, like meaning from a philanthropic standpoint, they often want to make sure that they have enough money to support themselves. So when, as advisors, we do planning, right? We do cash flow planning and help illustrate to a client, what retirement looks like, right? Well, we build philanthropic giving into retirement planning just like we do any other retirement expense. Because it's often we find that people, have an opportunity to now think big picture around like what else they can do to make an impact and share their resources with the world.
That's great. And maybe going off that, I mean, so one of the pieces we've incorporated into our platform is this idea of creating a mission statement. But then what we've also done is we've expanded that. So, one of the things we're doing at Louise that's unique to the donor advised fund space completely is this idea of enabling, the head of household to include the broader family in their giving journey. With the end goal of equipping advisors with the tools to enable their clients and their multi-generational families to successfully engage around their values and take action on those things that are most important. So maybe for Lynne, I would love, if I know you've had the opportunity to work with some of the wealthiest families in the world, and just to kind of give some sense as to some stories about the impact you've seen with clients when their values are successfully aligned with their wealth and their investments. And then, maybe the impact from both an emotional, mental standpoint, but also the impact in the world.
Gosh, yeah, I have a million stories. So just the one that's showing up is a family in Australia that was the money, the drive for the fortune came from the grandmother and grandfather now, who both were. One of them was as a child in Auschwitz, and their entire family was killed, and they were 6 years old when the Allies freed them, and they were alone. That was the man. And then the woman was in, she was a little girl in Buchenwald. She was 4 when the Allies freed them. They both got somehow through, I don't know that part of the story, but they ended up in Australia being adopted by families in Australia. They grew up, they met each other, realized they had the same childhood history, fell in love, and created together uh, an intentionality that was unstoppable to create Israel, to create the state of Israel, to really create a fortune that would be so big it could help to create this state of Israel. So this is obviously a Jewish family. And the grandma and grandpa, wonderful people. I mean, you can imagine, just wonderful, wonderful people. They ended up being very successful in the billionaire category. And by the time I was contacted by Gen 3, the third generation kid, person, not kid, but in their 30s, that was just feeling terrible about how what was going on between Israel and Palestine, and felt really uncomfortable that so many millions of dollars was going into Israel, and they wanted this couple, the man and woman, they wanted some of this money to go to direct towards the environment. They were really concerned about environment, indigenous people in Australia, etc. So there was this, and there was more and more of a schism in the family. The younger people were not so sure about the Israeli dominance over Palestine. The older people were all about that. And it was a schism in the family. There was really no new mission for the money. The original mission for the money was very heartfelt and right at the heart of the couple that I'm describing. But they had no more, there was no new mission that included the kids, the grandkids, the extended family, that brought into the new issues in the world. So I spent, oh my God, 2 years with them. It was a long time. But anyway, we got involved with the financial advisors, the investments, and what got revealed was that most of the millions were going to bombs, guns, tanks, killing machines. The originators, the billionaire grandma and grandpa, they were horrified that they were financing harm. And even though they still believed in Israel, they realized, oh my God, this money's been murdering people, Palestinian people. That's not what we meant at all. And so we re-looked with the whole family at their mission. I did a couple programs for them, something called the Awakening the Dreamer from the Pachamama Alliance. We took some of them to the Ecuadorian Amazon. You know, we really, it wasn't just a couple meetings. And they ended up rethinking their wealth, all of them together, and their mission became this money will do no harm, which is a little bit of a negative mission, but it was the perfect mission for them because they were also starting to sue each other, which was money, using money to do harm. And when they declared this money, this fortune will do no harm, then everyone could find their place in that. And they released the angst, the energy, the schism. They came together. And it was the lens through which they looked at everything, investments, whether they were purchasing a company or not, how they were doing business got into the mix. And for sure, the philanthropy totally transformed. And the schism, they actually weren't even talking to each other. In some cases, were starting lawsuits. Got healed. Now, this didn't happen overnight, but I'm just sharing that I really want to underline what you said, Ryan, that it's really powerful to do a mission statement. Why this money? You know, I have enough now. Why am I making more? And if I know why I'm doing it, and it's not just because I'm scared I'm not going to have enough, which is not a very healthy mission, which is people's unconscious mission. Then it can really light up the world and light up the lives of the people who are fortunate enough to have the kind of resources that you all are dealing with.
Yeah. I'll go ahead, Ryan.
No, go ahead, Christopher. Go for it.
I was just going to say one thing that's been really helpful for us over the past, past year or two, as there's been a lot of liquidity taking place in the market. My sister and I specialize in liquidity event planning. So, with a lot of people selling their companies over the last couple of years, we've been extremely busy, and we often find with business owners, most of their wealth is tied up in their business. They haven't really thought much about a mission statement in the past, and part of going through the planning process, we have there's a piece that Louise actually, Ryan, that you had shared with me that I think is really helpful in helping advisors have that conversation with clients. So maybe as a follow-up to the webinar, when you send the email out to everybody with the recording, you can include a link to that marketing piece, because I really think it's been helpful for us in just bridging the gap, helping our clients create those mission statements. The I think oftentimes once the person, whether it be the head of household or the family, once they have more free time than they ever thought that they would have, and they realize they can only take so many vacations, they start to figure out, well, how am I going to use my extra time, right? Like, what else am I going to do except play golf, go on vacations, go fishing, do yoga, whatever it is, exercise. And in most cases, we're helping people figure out, what legacy means for them and their family, and what type of impact that they want to create in the world. And we often hear back from people, I'm embarrassed, I've never thought about this before. Well, that's why we're in business, because we bring up those conversations, and bring forward those discussions so that we can develop that super strong connection with our clients, get to know them better than any advisor that has ever known them before, and really, again, help them get to the point of feeling, the highest levels of fulfillment. Me personally, I'm naturally philanthropic. I came from a middle-class family, but I graduated college and wanted to share and volunteer and support. And I've been donating organizations in a significant way since I started earning money after college. But unfortunately, I'm a small percentage of the population. People are naturally not givers. They're takers, receivers, and holders. So they have to be helped. They have to be asked the right questions to assist them with uncoupling the idea of scarcity with respect to money. And I believe all the advisors that are listening today can help them determine what their needs are, right? How much do you need, right? What are your expenses? What do you want to accomplish? What are important things that you want to do later on down the road? And then you analyze what they have, stress test their plan, to make sure it is, bulletproof, and to give them a peace of mind, knowing that they'll be fine even if things don't go as planned, if the market goes down, 20% like it has this year. And that's it. You continue to develop comfort, help, so that they're not staring at the ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning, worried about the gorilla in the room. And that's, whether or not they're going to be able to stop working or not. Lynne, maybe if you want to just share a quick story, I think we have time for it. The woman who donated the money ahead of her needs, it was a woman that you had shared in your book that really kind of made you transition your way of thinking.
I think it was the basement, the fundraiser for the Hunger Project in New York, Lynne, I think is what he's
correct.
Oh, you mean Gertrude's the woman in the church? That one?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, she didn't have a wealth advisor, but she advised me. Yeah. And I had been, prior to meeting her, I had been the same day in a Midwestern city meeting with a big executive of a big food company, and asked for a donation to our organization, the Hunger Project, and I'd gotten a pretty sizable check for that from that company. But the CEO was really doing it to kind of buy the company out of a big scandal and try to promote that they were all about ending world hunger when in fact the food company had a real dive in their stock, and there was a scandal, and they looked really bad in the press. So I realized I kind of got blood money, you know. I didn't feel so good about it. But my schedule was that I was to fly from there to New York and meet with a whole group of people in a church basement in Harlem for a fundraiser, a modest fundraiser with people, African American people who really were into ending hunger, and they all went to this wonderful church, and my friend Peter was the one who organized it, and I was very, very late, but when I got there, they were waiting for me. I had gotten caught in a rainstorm. Plane was really late, and it was still raining in New York. So when I ran down the church basement stairs, there were 75 people sitting there waiting for the speaker, and I was very late, more than an hour late. And there were buckets placed all around the church basement. It was cement floor, you know, very, very lit with fluorescent lights, very bright. And they were waiting for me, and I came rushing in, and my friend Peter was, you know, trying to buy time up in front of the room. And when I came in, he turned it over to me, and I turned around and looked at these people, and I was the only white person there. Everybody else was part of that church community. And they were so, I don't know, they were so present, so loving, so, I don't know, it was just awesome. I just remember the moment when I ran up in front and turned around and looked at them. I thought, I'm so grateful that they want to talk to me about ending world hunger. So I did my fundraising thing, and I focused primarily on the work we were doing in Africa, because of course that would be most relevant for them. And then I did the ask. And if you've ever fundraised, there's kind of a moment where you know you're gonna pop the question. And I did, and it was sort of a showstopper, even though it was a fundraiser. That's how it was billed. It was a showstopper probably for me. And there was rain outside, and then these buckets with catching leaks, and there was plop, plop, plop. You know, the water was all around us, kind of. And at a certain point, it was kind of quiet, and I was trying to figure out, do I pass out pledge forms? What do I do? Do I get a basket? How do I do this here? This is all going on in my head, and it's kind of silent, except for the sound of the rain. And then this woman, and this is who you want me to talk about, stood up, and she was 70 years old, I would guess, and she had gray hair, and she was very dignified in her posture. She was thin, slender. She had a raincoat on, and underneath her, it was open, kind of partially open. Underneath, you can see she had an old-fashioned maid's uniform on with a white collar and a gray, you know, cotton dress. And she had a purse on her arm, and she stood up, and she was very proper and beautiful African-American woman. And she said, "My name is Gertrude, and I want to tell you something. Money is just like water." And she referred to the rain and the buckets and the leaks. And, you know, it doesn't belong to any of us. It belongs to all of us. And it's a current. That's why they call it a currency. And, you know, it can carry all kinds of disease and terrible things, but you know what? It can also carry love. It can carry commitment. It can carry courage. It can carry forgiveness. It carries what we tell it to carry, in how we earn it, in how we spend it, in how we use it, and how we send it on. And I don't make a lot of money. I don't even have a bank account. I don't have any credit cards. I don't have a checking account, but I have money, and I earn it from doing people's wash. And I have $50 in my purse tonight, and what you've said has really moved me. And I want this $50 to go to ending world hunger. And I want you to know it carries with it my love, my commitment, my heart and soul. It's a currency of my love for the friends and relatives and ancestors I have on the African continent. And she walked up the center aisle of this, you know, church basement, if you can imagine that. And by the time she was done, I was starting to cry. Just one of my things that I can't keep myself from doing. I was so moved by her. And she handed me $50, and I'm not kidding, like in fives and ones, and there was some change. I can't remember exactly the denominations, but it was a bundle of cash. And I had next to me a briefcase on a little table with the check I'd received from the food executive the morning that early morning before. And it was a check, it was a yellow computer check, just to give you the details, face down in my bottom of my briefcase for $50,000. That was the amount. This is a long time ago, 1976. So it was 78. So it was a lot of money, $50,000. So I took her $50 and put it on top of the $50,000 check, but then gave her a hug, and then everybody, 100% of the people, all 75 of them, lined up behind her with their $50, $16.22, $10, $40, all cash. And one by one, they gave me their money. It was so moving, if you can imagine this. And it was like, communion or something in the church. And as they gave me their money, I would put it in my briefcase, which was open on top of the $50,000 check, which they couldn't see. And then the next person, they would hug, and I was crying. And then they would go back to their seats, and they started to sing. African American Church in Harlem, that's what you do. All of them singing together. And as they one by one gave me, you can imagine, it was just awesome. And by the time all of them had given me their hard-earned $50 or $12 or $17.80, and we're all kind of crying and swaying and singing. It was the most awesome fundraising experience of my whole life. And then we closed the event, and I'll just say this next part. I went back to my hotel room, and I took the pile of money, and it was $633.37. And that's how much it was from 75 people. And then I put it next to the $50,000 check, which was kind of blood money from this company that was doing bad things and was trying to cover it up, really, to be honest. And I realized the $633.37 was going to do more work for the end of world hunger than the $50,000. Now, an accountant or auditor would disagree with that, but I knew in my heart of hearts that this money came from love, and this money did not. And there was no commitment behind the $50,000. It was really like, okay, you can go now. Here's the money. Leave us alone. We're going to promote the heck out of this. Rather than this money is to actually end world hunger. And so I wrote a letter to the executive right there. It was about midnight. And I put the $50,000 check in there, and I sent it back. I didn't call anybody at my office. I didn't tell anybody because I thought, oh my God, they're going to kill me. We needed the money. But somehow I just couldn't receive it. Now, I just want to say, if you're a fundraiser, I don't recommend doing this.
Yeah, we're asset gatherers. So.
It was just one night it was a fundraising teaching for me from the universe. So I'm not recommending this. However, let me just tell you the end of the story. A couple of years later, I got a letter from the CEO of the company that gave the $50,000 that I returned, and he had retired. He had been so shocked by getting that money back that he started following our organization. He started realizing, gosh, I'm going to make a personal commitment to this organization and this work. And he sent a check for $250,000 from his own pocket. And that I accepted with all my heart and soul. So it's a fundraising story that I use to illustrate that money is a carrier. And it does have, yes, financial value, but it also can have heart and enormous healing power, and it can carry love.
Yeah, I think that really, as advisors, we have the decision on who we want to work with, right? Who it is whose wealth we want to help steward. And I think that you would agree with me that the people that you work with, they pay, when they pay you, you're receiving their energy, right? So if they're not great people, but they have a lot of money, you're getting that energy from them. So I prefer, and my sister and I would have agreed to this, that we only really want to work with people who are good citizens of the world and people that we really get along well with and share good things with. So I think we're getting close to the top of the hour. So one last question. Ryan, you want to give us?
Yeah. So what we'll do is also we'll put a poll up and just to see how people want to be followed up with. So our team will do that. And while we're doing that, I think maybe one last question would be, both to Lynne or to Christopher especially, what tools or technologies are you finding helpful and helping you take, that power of purpose and amplify their charitable impact. I think that.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of success over the past few years using a donor advised fund for charitable giving, or otherwise known as DAF. And for those of you who do not know what a donor advised fund is, you should definitely take a look online and Google it. But we've typically used it as a rebalancing tool, or to shelter a portion of large gains on the sale of a business or other illiquid assets. And accountants love the idea. Many advisors that are on this line probably seek to have good relationships with accountants so that they can get referrals from them. And I've had so much success sharing that idea with accountants in my network, or just even looping in the client's accountant into the conversation around using a donor advised fund, has been really well received. I did a webinar recently, a few months back, that goes into really great detail on the concept of the donor advised fund and different strategies to use it for. So feel free, if anyone's interested, to reach out to me, and I'll send along the recording for that. And I'd say last that I started working, with you, Ryan, and Louise recently, as I believe that you guys are the leading technology platform for charitable giving. And maybe you could just spend these last couple of minutes just talking a little bit about the technology and how advisors are using it as a tool in their practice.
Yeah, that's a great question, Christopher. Yeah, we're coming to the top of the hour, but I mean, quickly, I think a lot of the people on the call have some familiarity with Louise. But what we saw was that everybody in the space, the debt donor advised fund space, was focused on creating the DAF, funding the DAF. There was nothing to support clients and advisors engaging around, like, what do you want your legacy to be, and how do you go from, hey, this is a good idea, to actually making that happen in the world. And that's how you can think about Louise. It's a new generation of philanthropy that's engaging, that's personalized, and that's designed to bring an entire family together around that giving experience. And the last thing we're doing that's different is aligning granting behavior with investing. So we're doing some kind of unique things around that. So that's kind of at a high level. I don't know,
Yeah.
Lynne, we have one more minute. If there's anything else you want to say, we just really are grateful for your time and loved being with you.
Well, I love both what you're doing and how you're doing it and who you are doing it. And everybody should stick with you two guys and your sister, Christopher. You guys are right in the center of the bullseye, at least in my view. So thank you. And thank you for including me.
Yeah.
And I have a new book coming out, so called Living a Committed Life, that I said I would say something about. So I'm excited about that. And The Soul of Money is available on Amazon. They both are right now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that one for sure. And Lynne, also excited to really have this be a foundation of a relationship together. And for anyone who's interested in diving deeper and learning more about this type of work, that and our approach that we take in working with clients, and learning more about Lynne and her approach, you just go to consciouswealthadvisor.com, book a call with me, and we're going to be working together with Lynne on a container for advisors, and I'll share with you some information about that. But other than that, Ryan, thank you again to you and Louise, the Louise team, for putting this together today.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.